Invited a colleague to go partying, only to discover I was out of money. In the situation of robbing Bach, I had to ask the girl at the counter to pay for me and I would transfer the money back later. The girl looked cold. Do we know each other? I gently shook the wine glass in my hand. Aren't you familiar with it? You should try asking your bodyguards and ask them how many times they've bothered me. If you pass, you have to have it again. Lu Nguyen had a somewhat puzzled look on her face. The female bodyguard next to her scratched her head. Miss, it's true. Every time you get drunk, no one is allowed near you, except this gentleman. Lu's friends like Yen all raised their hands, seemingly in disbelief. Is it true? Every time Ms. Lu gets drunk, she doesn't let anyone near her. How can there be an exception? I remember that year, Ms. Lu drank until she was drunk. Seeing that, I wanted to help her back to her room, but in the end she broke one of her arms. Everyone said that when Ms. Lu was drunk, she was no different from a ghost, reincarnated, and anyone who came close would not be prosecuted. At that time, I was young and had not experienced life, so I was stupid. Get drunk, Ms. Lu, and as a result, I had to stay in the hospital for 2 months straight. The doctor said that Ms. Lu's self-defense ability is too strong. When she is drunk, she will not trust anyone, so she will unconsciously attack those around her. Just how special is this man to be Ms. Lu's exception? I won't believe it unless I see it with my own eyes. I raised my eyebrows, opened the QR code on my phone and said, okay, give me 3 million, I'll perform for you guys. I just wanted to joke a little, but I didn't expect someone to actually transfer me 3 million. An hour later, the money was back in my account. I smiled and pointed at the cashier. I'll go pay first. After you guys get her drunk, I'll come back. The people sitting at the bar all booed, only Lu Nguyen narrowed her eyes at me dangerously, but I won't be afraid. I am the mat that was once brushed. I still have pictures on my phone of her getting drunk and sleeping with that toilet. Don't look at her now. She's so elegant and cold. Just wait until she gets drunk and you won't have any image left. After going to the reception desk to pay the bill, my colleagues dispersed and everyone went home. And I went back to the bar. Anyway, I've already received the money, so I should show them a little performance. As expected, Lu Yen's friends all tried to get her drunk, but Lu Yen refused to drink. She grabbed my tie and dragged me directly out the door. The car slammed shut with a loud sound like the sound of opening a bottle of Coca-Cola. I touched my nose. This is not my fault. I also feel very troubled. But this started half a year ago. That day, after getting off work late, I saw a girl lying on the ground with her bicycle pressed against her body as if she were covering her with a blanket. So, when something funny like that happens, of course you have to take out your phone and take a photo. Unexpectedly, when I got closer, I discovered that the girl had an extremely beautiful face. At that time, Lu Nguyen's entire body reeked of alcohol, and he muttered, "Water, so thirsty." I took out my thermos and poured her a glass of water. Lu Nguyen was as docile as a little cat, drinking 3 large gulps in a row. I reached out and pushed her shoulder. "Miss, don't sleep in the middle of the street like this. Where's your phone? I'll help you call your friend to pick you up." But Lu Nguyen didn't care at all, still sleeping soundly on the road. I couldn't help but grope around and look in her pocket. I looked down and discovered that Lu Like Yan had long legs, like a model. After finding the phone, I scanned Lu Like Yan's face to unlock it, then called the first person in my contact list. I turned the camera straight in and out of her face so the other person could see clearly. "Here, hello. The owner of this phone is sleeping on the street. If you are her acquaintance, please come pick her up quickly." The other person didn't seem to care about Lu Nguyen at all, but was just panicked. "Warn me, hurry up, immediately stay 5 meters away from the mistress. I thought the other person thought I had bad intentions towards Lu like Yen, so I smiled amicably and explained, "Don't worry. I'm not interested in worms. I'll send you the location now, come here quickly." Unexpectedly, the other end of the line used a more serious tone to warn me, "If you don't want to die, then immediately do as I say." Psycho. I hung up the phone directly, then sat down next to Lu as Yen. Lu Nuyen used my thigh as a pillow, put her head on it and slept soundly. 10 minutes later, the other person came running. When she saw this scene, she panicked as if she had seen a ghost. I kept saying, "See for yourself. I did absolutely nothing to your friend." As soon as I finished speaking, Lu Nuyen changed her posture. Not only did she lay her head on my lap, but her arms also hugged my waist tightly. I tried hard to push, but still couldn't push her away. So I could only tug her hand and say, "Hey, don't sleep anymore. Your friend is here, go home with her." Lu Nuyen did not respond to my answer. Sleep even better. I had to ask the other girl for help, "Please come here and help me, she's hugging too tight." That person was still standing about 5 meters away, with no intention of going to help. I was so angry, "Hey, why do you keep standing there?" The other person answered me in fear, "Don't want to die?" "What do you mean? I'm not this drunk girl's friend, but her bodyguard." After that, the female bodyguard drove past here, stopped 5 meters away and said, "Can you find a way to help mistress get into the car for me?" I was a little annoyed. "Are you crazy? That's your mistress, not mine. I kindly called you here, don't be so rude next time." But no matter what I said, the female bodyguard refused to help me, just stood in the distance and looked up at me. I was crazy, reaching out to pull Lu like Yen, like pulling a dead pig. The female bodyguard seemed afraid that her boss would be injured by me, so she finally ran over to help. Unexpectedly, right after that, the girl who was sleeping like death suddenly woke up. She quickly pulled out a knife from her waist, then used her body to stand in front of me to protect me, and at the same time attacked the female bodyguard. That movement, that speed, that ferocity. If it weren't for the bodyguard's quick escape, I'm afraid this would have been the scene of a murder. I glared. My brain seemed to stop working. The female security guard stood 5 meters away, smiling shyly at me. "So do you know the reason why? When she was drunk, she was really aggressive." I unconsciously reached out to touch my neck. "So should I run away too?" Who would have thought that in the next second, Lu Nuyen put the knife back on her waist and continued to lean her head on my shoulder. I'm speechless already. The female bodyguard was also puzzled. He is the only person who can approach the mistress at such close range when she is drunk. I cried without tears. What should I do now? The bodyguard sincerely clasped his hands together and could only ask you to help me put the mistress in the car, then drive her home. Do you know how to drive? So I half believed and half doubted. You two aren't colluding to trick me, are you? Why am I the only one who can get close to her? Can't her parents either? The bodyguard lowered his eyes, then sadly said, the owner's parents had passed away a long time ago, only the grandfather remained. But grandpa can't get close to the mistress when she's drunk. What bad luck. I cursed silently, then I helped Lu Yan into the car and took her home. The female bodyguard even asked for a way to contact me, saying that she might still need my help in the future. I shouted, don't you dare dream. One sound. She transferred me 15 million. I immediately smiled and said, okay. Just call me anytime you need me, there's absolutely no need to be polite, but it has to be like this every time. One night half a month later, the bodyguard suddenly transferred me another 15 million. Mr. Gypsy, the rescuer will trouble you to come here. I followed the navigation and went to the most luxurious bar in Haitan. Pushing open the private room door, I discovered several characters I had seen on TV lying on the ground. Moments later, an ambulance arrived and took them all to the hospital. Finally, in the private room, only Lu and Yen were left. Lu's eyes were as cool as Yen's, his hand holding the knife tightly, so scary that it made my legs weak, and I didn't dare to get close. "No, I won't do this anymore." The female bodyguard standing outside the door heard that and immediately transferred me another 15 million. "I understand, you have to add money, right? I really didn't mean this, but here's 15 million. I'm just a lowly employee, of course I can't resist the lure of money." So I carefully walked in front of Lu like Yen, then cautiously reached out and patted her shoulder. "Don't kill me, put the knife down quickly." And I really didn't expect her to obediently listen to me. His drunken eyes looked at me vaguely for a long time. Then she put the knife away. Next, he staggered and fell into my arms. Heaven and earth, oh my God! I didn't have time to react, so the two of us fell directly to the ground. Luckily, before hitting the ground, I was able to reach out and catch her head. Otherwise, my God of wealth, there is a high possibility that he will have a traumatic brain injury. Back to reality, next to the luxury car, the bodyguard was chatting with Lu like Yen. Even turned on the phone to show her the video. It seems to be my previous life-saving wanderlust video. I vaguely heard the bodyguard say, "Miss, that's the situation. I really don't want to hide it from you, but mainly because I haven't yet investigated the reason why you trusted him when you were so vague. I originally planned to report back to you after finishing the investigation." The next second, Lu Nguyen opened the door and got into the car. I immediately pretended to be playing on my phone, but in reality I was racking my brain trying to figure out if Lu Nguyen and I had any relationship. Lu Nguyen is the young lady of a wealthy family in Haitan, inheriting a huge fortune. As for me, I'm just an acquaintance. After graduating from university, I stayed in the big city to work. It would be unbelievable for the two of us to have such a close relationship that we would sacrifice our lives for each other. Lu Nguyen's face was serious, full of sadness. I immediately wanted to run away. "Miss Lu, if there's nothing wrong, I'll go first. Goodbye, no need to see you off." When I was about to say goodbye, Lu Nguyen held my hand tightly. "Before everything is investigated, you will not leave my side." I shook my head. "Why?" "If that's the case, your boyfriend will be very upset." "I'm not." Lu Nguyen was just about to say something, as if thinking for a moment, she immediately changed her tone. "He is abroad." Why is this so familiar? Seems like the kind of thing I often see on review reports. Suddenly a thought flashed in my head. Am I a lot like him? Is it because I look a lot like your Bok Noyet Kwong, so after you got drunk, you mistook me for him, so you allowed me to get close? It turns out that's the case. I told you, we clearly have no relationship. Why do you trust me like that? Lu Nguyen's face was dark and he said, "It's different to keep your mouth shut." After finishing speaking, she added, "He can't come close to me either." What? You mean when you're drunk, your white moonlight can't get close to you? So how can it be called Bok Noyet Kwong? Is Kwong okay? She really isn't sincere at all. Lu Nguyen's eyes were filled with hate. Why do you talk so much? I waved my hand. People still say that funny men are the most attractive men. The bodyguard just sat in the driver's seat and laughed mockingly when he heard my words. Lu like Yen didn't even give me a smile. On the contrary, he told the bodyguard with a serious face to transfer money to him and told him to shut up. Believe it or not, the bodyguard transferred 30 million to me. I immediately woke up and closed my mouth. Anyway, the employee's principle is to make customers satisfied. However, if you want me to live with you, it's absolutely impossible. The forest car was in the villa yard. I immediately became alert and put my hands on my chest. I won't sleep with you, no matter how much extra money you pay. We men also have the same principle when it comes to making money. Lou is like yin. Get out of the car, give me an extremely hateful look. Do you have a nice dream? You will live in the living room. From now on you will be the one in charge of taking care of me when I get drunk. So I was forced to move into Lu Jia's living room. Lu Nuyen is truly a tyrannical drunkard, forcing me to be her housekeeper when she is drunk. If I didn't have 30 million transferred to my account every day, I wouldn't be doing this job even if I died. Every day I sincerely pray to my grandfather and grandmother, to pray for Lu Yen's Bok Noyet light to return home soon. Only then will my freedom be restored. Anyway, no man can stand it when his girlfriend's house has such a handsome male servant. Now there are rumors outside that Lu Nuyen not only raises boys in the house but also loves me extremely much. Every time he gets drunk, he calls me to pick him up. Say it as if in Lu's heart like yen, I am very special. Heaven knows that during the day I was miserable selling myself to the capitalists, and at night I had to be a servant to Lu like yen. Tired like a dog. Just when I was filled with resentment, Lu Nuyen's Bok Noyet light finally returned. But when he rushed back to the villa and saw me lying on the sofa in the living room, still eating fruit, he panicked like he saw a ghost. I crossed my legs and sat on the sofa, waiting for him to get angry and kick me out. Unexpectedly, he was so scared that he kept backing away. Then he directly bumped into Lua's Yen. Chu's sickly face stuttered and stammered, Yen, who is he? Lu Nuyen narrowed his eyes. Did you do something bad? Why is her face so bad? No, maybe it's just because I was on the plane for 10 hours so I'm a little tired. Lu Nuyen nodded, then I'll tell the driver to take you home to rest first. Chu then obediently left. Walking to the door, he suddenly remembered something, turned around and said, Yen, grandfather said that this time when we return home, we must push up our marriage, it can't drag on any longer. Lu Nuyen said nothing, just glanced at him. In my heart, I screamed frantically, you have to be strong, brother. You two are about to get married. Don't you take this opportunity to chase me away? Do you really not feel offended? Lu Nuyen pulled me out, then pushed me into the car. I asked curiously, what are you doing? Where do you want to take me? Going to a party tonight. There's a social party. There's a good chance I'll have to drink. I shook my head tiredly. Can't you drink less? Drinking alcohol is not good for your health. Lu Nuyen narrowed her beautiful eyes. Are you taking care of me? Don't eat melon. I'm just heartbroken for myself. Can't you cure your illness? Or change to someone else to trust? She seems to be unconcerned. Throw me an album and say, pick one. I flipped the album open and saw inside were many sets of tickets from famous brands, the type that male stars often wear on the red carpet. I watched with my mouth watering. Each set has a value of up to 8 digits. The next second, I calmly closed the album. Lu Yen frowned. I'm not allowed to refuse. Choose an outfit. Wear it tonight. Okay, but can I choose 2 sets? What if someone spills the red wine on my things? Actually, I find 3 sets to be the safest. Lu Nuyen looked at me with contemptuous eyes. Don't worry, no one dares to touch my man. I opened my mouth to correct. It's the servant who serves, the drunkard is correct. The words of this Miss Lu Like Yan are not trustworthy at all. She said no one would dare touch me, but someone threw a glass of wine in my face. My mouth is truly a crow's mouth. And I'm not a gentle person, so I kicked him directly. When Lu Nuyen ran over, my right foot was stepping on the young master's stomach. He wasn't the average guy either. He raised his hand and ripped my pants. Seeing Lu Like Yan running over, I quickly accused him. It's because he threw alcohol on me. Didn't you say no one would dare to bully me? It's my first time wearing such an expensive set, and there's only this one set. Lu Nuyen leisurely opened her mouth. There are still 2 more sets in the car. Aunt Lai, I'll take you down to replace them. What if they're not as expensive as the set I'm wearing? I've bought all the items in that album for you. Then it's acceptable. Tell him to let go first. Lu Nuyen glared at the young master and warned him. Let go. He immediately shouted angrily, Sister. I'm your younger brother, right? Is the person I beat Lu's younger brother Like Yan? Dead. I immediately lifted my legs and jumped to the side, hiding behind. Lu Nuyen couldn't help but burst out laughing. He's just a useless cousin, you don't have to be so afraid. Hearing these words, I immediately straightened my back and stood tall. Don't blame me, I was just defending myself. Then, I reached out to pull Lu Like Yan. Come on, quickly take me to see the tickets you bought for me. If you dare to trick me, in the future even if you get so drunk that you strip in public, we won't take you home. Lu Nuyen let me drag her along. Hearing me making noise all the way, she only added a sentence, what are you to me? I'm the one who waits for you when you're drunk, not your lover like the outside rumors say. Hearing my answer, Lu Nuyen immediately hated it and withdrew his hand. You seem quite arrogant. Of course, I am an honest worker, making money with my labor, not inferior to anyone. Lu Nuyen laughed and led me next to the luxurious Maybach. Then, opened the trunk for me to see. There were actually 2 very nice suits in there. Immediately, I became extremely agitated. Wow, you really have no ability. You say that no one dares to bully me, but in reality you have secretly prepared a backup plan. Lu Nuyen's face darkened. If you keep talking, I won't even dream of having a button. Thinking back on the pain and suffering I had to endure today, I immediately glanced at her. If you don't protect me well, that's fine. Now don't even let me say anything. As a boss, if you can't even protect your own employees, then don't expect anyone to sell your life for you. At this time, Lu Nuyen reflected on herself, her expression softened, her attitude became solemn. Well, I'll protect you well from now on. I promise. Of course I didn't believe her words. I'm not stupid. I had just changed into another suit and returned to the party when Lu's grandfather Yan wanted to see me again. Lu Nuyen was currently surrounded by other people and had no time to pay attention to me. I was led to a room. Lu's cousin Yan was also there. He snitched on Grandpa Lu. Grandpa, it's him. Shameless guy, I don't know what kind of amnesia he gave my cousin. I looked at him coldly. Try saying one more sentence. Lu Not Min was arrogant. I'll just say it. What can you do to me? That's enough, stop it. The heavy weight in Grandpa Lu's hand fell heavily to the ground. Not Min, go out first. Grandpa quickly went out first. As he left, he glared at me fiercely, you just watch out for me. I rolled up my sleeves, not at all weak in front of him, just as the old saying goes, when I come I welcome him, when I touch him. After a long while the atmosphere quieted down, Lu Jiwei motioned for me to sit down. I also unceremoniously sat across from him. I heard you can get close to Yan Yan when she's drunk, right? That's right. I'm the one she hired to wait on her when she was drunk, not her lover like outside rumors say. Do you know why Yen Yen is so aggressive when she's drunk? Please, I'm not a fairy to know that much. Old man, if there's anything, just say it straight, don't beat around the bush. Although I'm handsome, I'm not good at guessing, don't expect too much from me. Lu Jiwei told me a story, it's been almost an hour but it's still not finished. At this moment, the bodyguard knocked on the door and said, "Miss, the boss seems to be drunk." I quickly got up and said goodbye to Grandpa Lu before leaving. I thought for a moment and said to him, "Old man, I understand." He told me a very tragic story that happened when Lu Yen was still a baby. Lu Yen's parents were killed and she suffered a huge shock from there. She never trusts anyone again. In the midst of that difficult time, there was only one person who persistently stood by her side and never betrayed her. That's Chu Then-gu. I'm about to marry Lu Yen. You want me to disappear before they get married, right? Okay. As long as you can help me leave, I promise that tonight will be the last time I bring the wineworm Lu Yen home. After leaving that room, the bodyguard asked me with a constipated expression, "Brother, do you really want to leave?" Ah, yes. I've earned quite a bit of money these days, so I want to go back to my hometown to raise fish and grow more vegetables. I don't want to continue living in the big city anymore. Don't tell Lu Yen about this. I'm not only dealing with a drunkard now, but I also have to deal with her mentally disabled cousin. This is clearly not a job for humans, and besides, isn't Lu Yen about to get married? It's really inappropriate for me to be with her. The bodyguard sighed. Actually, Mistress doesn't like Master Chu at all. Everything is under Master Lu's attention, what does it have to do with me? I shrugged and went back to the party. Lu Yen is still drinking with someone. When the people around saw me, they immediately started making noise. Is it him? Can he approach Ms. Lu when she's drunk? We'll know the truth soon. We must make Ms. Lu really drunk. I walked over to Lu Yen, sat down next to him and whispered, "My little ancestor, can't you drink a little less?" The person next to him immediately interjected, "Of course it's not possible. Do you know who Ms. Lu is drinking with? It's the world's #1 hypnotist, Duong Yen. Sister Lu encountered a very tragic incident when she was young. After that, her memory was vague and her memories were no longer clear. But recently, for some unknown reason, she especially wanted to restore that memory. Ms. Lu had gone to many hypnotists but all failed. Now she can only rely on Duong Yen. But she said, if Ms. Lu can overcome her, then she is willing to help. I rolled my eyes, a little suspicious. Did you and Duong Yen collude to get Lu Yen drunk, then wanted to test whether I could really get close to Lu Yen or not? A loud laugh rang out in my ears. Before, I already transferred money to you, so it's obvious that you performed for us. I scratched my head, okay. After all, I am the most handsome and prestigious man in Haitan. I said so with my mouth, but in my heart I secretly hated Lu, because every time Lu Yen got drunk, I had to bend my back and drag her home, tired to death. I stood up and went to the food counter to fill my empty stomach. After I was full, I returned to everyone's eager and waiting eyes. I asked, who won? Some people say that Duong Yen has passed out to the point of unconsciousness. Ms. Lu is a little better, but can still drive smoothly. Brother, please show off your talent. Okay, look here. I calmly walked next to Lu Yen. She was currently sitting on the single sofa, her face flushed, pressing her temples with both hands. Without any mercy, I gave her a hard knock on the head. Get up quickly, we have to go home. The next second, I picked up Lu Yen and pulled him away. Everyone around them rubbed their eyes vigorously. Is it because I'm blind, or is it because Miss Lou is not naturally drunk? Miss Lou is definitely not drunk yet. If she was, she absolutely couldn't be so kind. No, I have to try. Maybe I can also get close to Sister Lou. The next second, a scream rang out in the middle of the party. Ah! Sister Lou, I was wrong, don't kill me. Brother, please save me. I was also a little frightened, quickly hugged Lou like Yen and comforted him. Yen, good boy, put down the knife. Lou knew Yen, if you don't put down the knife, I will be angry. A whoosh sound rang in his ears. Lou Nguyen inserted the knife into his back at extremely fast speed. Blinking her eyes, she staggered and fell into my chest, looking a bit frustrated and rubbing her face a few times. Exclamations echoed around. Poke out my dog's eyes. What did I see? Are those two about to get married? Lou Not Men looked annoyed and said, Don't dream of him. Cousin, I will only marry Mr. Chu then. Don't listen to this bastard, he's chanting. You really don't understand, woman. Looking at that reaction, it's clear that Ms. Lou has loved her to the core. Under everyone's admiring eyes, I pulled my little puppy Lou Nian out of the banquet room. Then drive her home yourself. On the way, I felt extremely uncomfortable. Looking at Lou like Yen sleeping in the passenger seat, that beautiful and seductive face thought of Lou's grandfather's words. I feel like my nose is a bit sour. Honestly, this woman is really pitiful. I wonder who will take her home after I leave. Remember how she got drunk on the road and used her bicycle as a blanket? I have to calm down. After finishing this last mission, I really have to leave. Otherwise, I'm afraid I'll fall in love with Lou like Yen. Because no man can resist the charm of a beautiful girl. Furthermore, her white moonlight has also returned home, and I will never be willing to be her lover. The car drove back to the villa. Lou and Yen got out of the car and looked at her drunk appearance. I exclaimed, You deserve it, who told you to drink so much? Lou Nguyen was half awake and half asleep, muttering, I want to remember. What's the point of remembering? That nightmare, if you forget it, forget it. Aren't you afraid that remembering it will hurt even more? Lou Nguyen looked at me with wet eyes, because I want to marry you. Lou Nguyen, what did you just say? I was extremely shocked, hallucinating. Definitely an illusion. Lou Nguyen cooed again, resting her head on my chest, her voice full of sweetness. Smells so good, this scent of yours makes me remember it forever. I didn't care about the drunkard's words and directly pulled her into the house. Thank you, but I don't mind if you call me great-grandfather. Why did you forget me? And I still haven't forgotten you. I don't care. Lou Nguyen, you're really drunk. We didn't know each other before. After struggling for a while, I finally brought her back to the bedroom. Lou Nguyen was really drunk, just hugged me tightly and didn't let go. Her fingers still very dishonestly caressed my chest, her breath was incredibly hot, her eyes were wet. I was a bit hasty. Lou Nguyen, open your eyes and see clearly for me. I'm the proverb, the maid you hired, not your bok noyet kwong. Aren't you my maid? Yes, I'm your father. My dear daughter, call me quickly. I said angrily, as the saying goes, I really miss you. As soon as the words ended, Lou Nguyen immediately raised her head and firmly pressed her lips to mine. My mind exploded and went blank. What the hell is going on? Damn Lou like Yen, will you let me go? During my first kiss, I cried without tears and pushed her away with force. Lou like Yen was clinging tightly like an octopus. No matter how hard I pushed, I couldn't push her away. Grandpa Lou said he would send someone to pick me up tonight, but the person responsible for picking me up waited for me downstairs for a long time but still didn't see me come down. Then, somehow miraculously, both Lu Not Min and Chu then opened the door together and saw the scene before their eyes. Lu Not Min was extremely angry and scolded me, "You dog." The next second, he rushed up and wanted to hit me. Lu Like Yen was drunk. Seeing this, he without hesitation jumped up and hugged Lu Not Min's neck. Chu then and I had to try very hard to rescue him. I shouted, "Get out of here if you don't want to die." Lu Not Min stood at the door and cursed repeatedly, "This son of a bitch." Mr. Chu then, "Look, he dares to sleep with your woman." Chu then didn't seem to pay attention to his words, still very politely said, "Mr. Ko, we will wait for you in the living room." I wiped my lips vigorously, a bit unsure of what to do. A while later, I went into the bathroom to wash my face to wake myself up, while Lu Like Yen was already sleeping like the dead. I angrily covered her with a blanket and said goodbye, "Lu Nuyen, I'm leaving, we'll never see each other again." I wonder, when this formidable woman wakes up tomorrow morning and discovers I'm not here, will she turn the whole Haitan upside down looking for me? Ko gone. You are crazy. You're just a servant. Don't be delusional about your position anymore. I knocked my head hard, then returned to my room and packed my luggage. A moment later, I suddenly realized that I had received a lot of things from Lu Yen during the past time. I can't fit them all in one suitcase. In the end, I could only carry 3 large luggage boxes to the living room. Lu Not Min and Zhou Shen were both waiting for me. Chu then straightened his back and calmly said, "Great brother. Thank you for taking care of Yan Yan all this time. We are about to get married. I hope you are aware of your own position." I shook my head, "Stop talking too much, can I leave now?" Having finished speaking, I packed my luggage and proudly left Lu Jia. Goodbye. The next time I see news about Lu Nuyen, it will probably be news about her and Chu Than's wedding. It wasn't until a long time later that I learned that Lu Like Yen and Chu Than were never married. After I left, Lu Nuyen actually searched all over Haitan to search for it. 2 months later, she was completely crazy. She came to my hometown, stayed at my house every day, and took over my bed. My mother secretly called me, "Tell me the truth, how much money have you swindled people from, Sigan? Even though our family is really difficult, we absolutely don't do anything trivial. I feel a headache. Mom, please call the police." My mother angrily said, "What about reporting to the police? That girl plays Go very well, your father has to play with her every day when he comes home from work." I sighed. Lunar New Year is only half a month away. If the situation stays like this, how can I go home? Kogan, tell the truth, do you owe money or love? A few days later, my mother called me again. "Son, I think this baby is fine, maybe you two should make up. Mom and Dad want to hold you too." I immediately raised my voice, "Mom and Dad, why are you two so easily bribed?" A few days later, my mother continued to call me. I immediately hung up. At this moment, news about Lu Jia climbed straight to the top of media searches. Exposed the secret of a wealthy family. Master Lu and his unofficial grandson-in-law, Zhou Shen, cooperated to brainwash Lu's heir Yan but failed. The article is full of ambiguity and confusion. I was extremely curious, so I proactively contacted this bodyguard. "What's going on? Tell me quickly. Did you read my message?" But the female bodyguard has been silent ever since. I'm extremely confused. A moment later, the bodyguard called me directly. "This story is very long." Because of my curious nature, I talked to the bodyguard for an hour. At this moment, someone broke into my room. Long legs, smooth figure and beautiful face are Lu Nuyen. I shouted in panic, "Hey, you and the bodyguard colluded to determine my location, right?" Lu Nuyen laughed, "You're smart too. It's just a pity it's too late. If you dare leave me again, I will cut off your legs and imprison you forever." I was threatened by Lu Nuyen and taken back to Haitan. She imprisoned me in the villa with a hot pot. I dipped the beef in the steaming pot of hot pot, suspiciously, and asked in a low voice, "So you were deceived by your grandfather and Zhou Chen? The one who didn't abandon you at the most difficult time was not Zhou Chen but me? But I have no impression at all. Are you sure you're not remembering wrong?" Lu Nuyen looked at me firmly. "I'm sure. Because after I won the drinking contest, Duong Chuyen helped me. She treated me with intensive hypnosis for 2 months and I remembered everything. I also asked your parents. They said that 10 years ago my family went to Haitan to travel and I got lost. Later, they found me but I had a high fever and didn't remember anything. Or should I tell that Duong Chuyen, can you give me intensive hypnosis?" I waved my hand and refused. "Stop it, the things I want to forget are definitely not good memories. So I don't want to remember them. Okay, let's just say I saved your life. What are you going to do now? Are you planning on imprisoning me by your side for the rest of your life?" Lu Nuyen leaned shyly against my chest, her cheeks red. I used all my strength to push her away, but no matter how hard I pushed, I couldn't push her away. "Hey, what the hell are you doing?" Lu Nuyen raised her eyes and looked at me seductively. "You kissed me completely when I was drunk, right? Do I kiss you completely? That's ridiculous. It's obvious that you forced a kiss on me. How do you feel?" It's a bad time. I don't dare look straight into Lu's eyes like Yen. Honestly, I've been thinking about that kiss for the past few months. The next second, Lu Nuyen kissed my throat. "Then let me give you a taste of something better." I don't know how to answer. My defense is about to collapse. Since leaving Haitan, I have felt extremely insecure every day. You can take your huge amount of money and travel to the mountains and rivers to heal your broken soul. Obviously, I have never been in love, but my heart is as painful and bitter as a heartbroken person. After hearing that Lu Nuyen came to my house to find me, I was really happy, but also felt a bit miserable because we clearly had no future. In just a short time, she and Chu then will be married. When I saw the hot news back then, I couldn't wait to contact the bodyguard, wanting to ask if the news was real or fake. I don't understand my heart more and more. At this moment, the female bodyguard walked in. "Miss, young Master Lu is here." Seeing her, I immediately wanted to push Lu Nuyen away, but she still clung to me and wouldn't let go. "Are you embarrassed?" "What? My face is not as thick as yours. Why did you call Lu Yiming here? Are you kidding me?" Lu Notmin's eyes turned red and he actively apologized. "I'm sorry, old brother, I'm really sorry. Before, it was because I didn't understand things. Can you forgive me? I'm a little confused. Is the sun rising in the west?" He continues to cry. Mr. Chu then was sent to Africa as a volunteer by a sister like Yen. He won't be able to return for the next 10 years. My old saying, "I don't want to go to Africa." I had some clarity, then looked at him. The smile gradually lost its humanity. "If that's the case, I will definitely never forgive you. I'm sorry, please don't do that. In the next 10 years I will be your dog, is that okay? I beg you. Then bark at me." My 3-door view has really collapsed. Forget it, I'm not a cruel person. Okay, but remember that you have to be my dog for 10 years and must always listen to me. Do you understand? Lu Notmin seemed extremely grateful, looking at me with sparkling eyes. After Lu Not Min left, Lu Nuyen turned to look at me meaningfully. 5 stars? What's wrong? You can't bear it? Lu Nuyen said the key point, you and he have the same blood. He is my dog, so aren't you also my dog? Lu Nuyen winked very mischievously and continued, do you agree to let me be your licking dog? I think 10 years is a bit short. What do you think about 1 lifetime? As the old saying goes, don't be my servant anymore. Be the man of my life. For so many years, I have never loved anyone, but from now on I will learn how to love you, okay? Lu Nuyen looked at me, her burning eyes seemed to burn my heart and soul. I coughed softly in my heart, inexplicably nervous. Maybe I'll give you a chance, but you have to promise me you won't get drunk again in the future. Lu Nuyen looked at me gently, then said sincerely, okay, I promise you, until one day. Lu's friend Yen suddenly called me, brother-in-law, please go to Ba Fox restaurant to review. Miss Lu was very drunk. This woman, she clearly took my words as a breeze. I hurriedly drove the luxury car that Lu Yen bought for me. When I arrived, I was surprised to discover that this was the first place where Lu Yen and I met in a completely sober state. I rolled up my sleeves and angrily walked in. The next second, I was a little confused when I saw 3 people standing outside the door. They seriously lined up in a line and loudly shouted, brother-in-law is here, brother-in-law, please come inside. I looked at them suspiciously. Do you guys have a plan? Why are you acting so differently? How dare you? I'm Ms. Lu's man. I touched my nose, extremely worried as if I was about to step into a trap. Entering the bar, I was a bit surprised to see that the bar was not as noisy and vibrant as usual. Lu Nuyen is now sitting in the center, playing the piano and singing a sweet song. Looking at her, she doesn't look like she's drunk at all. Could it be that she wants to propose to me? Oh my God, but today I forgot to shave and wash my hair. Just when I wanted to run away, Lu Yen's voice gently spoke through the crowd. Her eyes gently looked towards me. There were cheers around me urging me to get up. I was a bit restless, I had an indescribable feeling in my heart, both excited and happy. I slowly walked towards her. Lu Nuyen also stood up and walked towards me. Lu Nuyen took out a ring from her pocket and looked at me sincerely. Old saying, will you marry me? I shook my head, her face was full of disappointment. The surrounding crowd also immediately became quiet. I smiled. Yen, I should say this. Do you agree to marry me? I can no longer remember how everything happened after that, I only remember that the moment our lips touched each other, I seemed to see deep in my memory a young girl covered in blood falling into my arms. She asked me with difficulty. What's your name? Old saying. My name is Kogan. Okay, Kogan. I will definitely remember.